Sir, we are live now on YouTube.
Okay.
Please start.
समस्त प्रकार साउंड आछे साउंड बंद कर दियंतु आज थिंकर्स क्लब रो 107 तम आलोचना को समस्त को स्वागत करूची गत आलोचना हमें 28/7/24 रे करथिलु वर्तमान एणि के हमें पुनी नियमित कार्यक्रम आरंभ करिबा आज टॉपिक रखा जाइछि विश्व युद्ध और शांति वर्तमान मनुष्य जते सिविलाइज हेले भी जो भयंकर युद्ध आम दूरदर्शन देखुचु वास्तविक ताहा घोर निंदनीय एवं अमानविकतार परिचय दे आज जना पड़े विश्व रे कई नेता नाहंती जाति संघर नेतृत्व कौन से कार्य करू नाही जहा फल रे बड़ दयनीय स्थिति रे केतेक देश युद्धर सम्मुखीन होई समस्त को विश्ववासी को विचलित करिसेंती एही परिप्रेक्षी किंतु विवेक पट्टनायक जे कि चाकरी परित्याग करी जाति संघ रे जॉइन करथिले तांकर प्रस्ताव अनुसार आमे ए विषय वस्तु को रखिछु जेहेतु से जाति संघ रे कार्य करथिले तांकर बहु अभिज्ञता रहिछि सेही बळी भाबरे मेजर जनरल अतनु पट्टनायक तांकर मध्य युद्ध उपरे बहु अनुभूति रहिछि से मध्य ताकू व्याख्या करिवे सेही बळी भाबरे आज ईस्ट जोनल जनरल सेक्रेटरी भारतीय विकास परिषद पुण्यखुंटिया आम सहित जॉइन करछंती एवं लंडन रो जने यंग डॉक्टर भाग्यश्री सिंह से आमर थिंकर्स क्लब रो एक्टिव मेंबर भाव जॉइन करछंती तेणु आम कार्यक्रम का विलंब नक आरंभ करवा मु वर्तमान डॉक्टर भाग्यश्री सिंह को अनुरोध करुच्ची सी स्वागत सूचना देवे
Bhagyashri ma'am, you are not audible. Can you just unmute yourself?
No.
Am I lucky? Am I audible now?
No, yeah.
yes
Okay. नमस्कार मु डॉक्टर भाग्यश्री सिंह मु एनएचएस रे काम करे मोर स्पेशलिटी इज मस्कुलोस्केलेटल प्रथमे तो बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद जणेबी बरदा बाबू को to let me moderate this and not moderate sorry to give the introduction of the
Welcome.
special chief guest and आमर आज आमर जे मुख्य अतिथि अछंती सिला श्रीयुक्त विवेक पट्टनायक जे कि जणे रिटायर्ड आईएएस आमर चीफ स्पीकर जे अछंती मेजर जनरल अतनु पट्टनायक जी जे कि रिटायर्ड मेजर जनरल तेणु मु बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद जणाय को चाहिबी तांको कि आज आम गण रे आपण अछंती सो वी लुक फॉरवर्ड टू लिसन टू यू
थैंक यू वर्तमान आरंभ करबा टॉपिक मेजर जनरल अतनु पट्टनायक आमे समय आम सीमित घंटे भितर कार्यक्रम सारिबा तेणु आमर युद्ध जो बार बार होउची वर्तमान दीर्घ 3 वर्ष धरी आपनकर हमास इस्राएल यूक्रेन रूसिया एभली भाव जो भयंकर परिस्थिति सृष्टि होईची एहा आम मन आशंका हुए तृतीय विश्व युद्ध को निमंत्रण करबनी तो तेणु निश्चित भाव से सब अंचल शांति व्याहत होईची एवं एते सभ्यपूर्ण एते सभ्यता जो आमे पृथ्वीवासी मत जना पड़ुची जमती आज विश्व रे के नेता नहांती जाति संघ कौन से कार्य करू नहीं दूरदर्शन रे ये सब न्यूज अमानविक न्यूज देखले हम मन रे क्षोभ जात हुए तेणु आज समस्त थिंकर्स माने आम आलोचना करिया को आगे आसीचु जदियो आम देश रे युद्ध नहीं तथापि आज विश्व रे जो युद्धर जो घनघटा जो भयंकर परिस्थिति सृष्टि होईची ताकू किबरी ताकू यथाशीघ्र समाधान हो पार और कहीं युद्ध होउची कोनी समाधान हो पार से दिगरे आम विशेष भाव आलोचना करवा तेणु आज अनुरोध करुच्ची मेजर जनरल अतनु पट्टनायक को से संक्षेप में चुंबकीय सूचना देवे
Thank you, Barada Babu. The first thing I would like to say that the wars are being fought not because of geopolitical reasons purely. There is a thing called deep state, which I mean, both commonly used word, but it is misunderstood or it is underestimated. How powerful is this deep state? The military industrial complex of the United States and is combined with their intelligence agencies, the State Department, and uh, most part of the US media, along with the big tech. You can also count the pharma and the oil lobbies as part of this. It is them who have been driving the entire system, the warfare for the last 35 years at least, since the breakdown of the Soviet Union in 1991. Before that, from 1945, this is end of Second World War, till say 1991, we had ideological warfare. We had the communist regime on one side, the Soviet bloc and its satellite countries or communism, and we had the capitalist system led by the United States. However, after the fall of Berlin Wall in 1989 and the collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991, US became the sole hegemon power in the world. If you see all the wars in the last 35 years, from 1989 onwards, they have all been triggered by United States. US has got 750 odd military bases spread around 80 countries over the world. Their military industrial complex dominates the export market. But legitimate export market itself is not enough. Countries will import arms if they feel threatened. So they create enemies. That is the fact. They trigger hotspots. So if you go back in, say, from 1991 onwards, they first, when they integrated West Germany united with East Germany, and they wanted Germany to be part of the NATO. That time, the US Secretary of State James Baker had very clearly said that thus far and NATO will not expand thereafter. But today, you see, from 1991, when the Soviet Union collapsed and the Warsaw Pact, the rival power center, they closed shop. There were 15 members in NATO in 1991. Today, it is 32, more than doubled. So it has been this relentless pursuit of war by the hegemon that has created a situation where we are almost like, they say in the doomsday clock, we are like 17 minutes to doomsday today as we talk. That has happened because from 1991, they have been triggering wars, they have been pushing arms. In fact, in August this year, the media house CBS of United States flagged that 70% of the arms which are meant for Ukraine, 70% of the arms which are meant for Ukraine don't reach them. Where do they go? They were going to vanish into the black market. These are the arms, if you see whether it is the Taliban or it is the Al-Shabaab in Africa or the ISIS, the Islamic State in Syria, Iraq, that zone where they operate, whose arms are they using? They're all NATO grade arms, American arms, basically. When the US withdrew from Afghanistan last year, August 2021, August, they left arms worth $80 billion, 350,000 automatics, countless number of armored vehicles, helicopters, Humvees, you name a thing. Why did they leave? Because from 2001, when the war started in Afghanistan, when they bombed and occupied Afghanistan, to 2021, in 20 years, there would have been X number of arms which would have been pumped into Afghanistan as per the documents. They did not want that somebody should actually audit those documents and find out what has reached them and what has gone elsewhere. So war is a theater of war is used as a pretext by the arms industry to use public money and use them as exports. When US says that I'm going to give 60 billion or 80 billion dollars worth of arms to Ukraine, it's basically US taxpayers' money being used for profit of the arms industry. All arms industry is the private sector. So, like when first it was Afghanistan, then it was Iraq. Iraq was for a different region. I mean, they did not have weapons of mass destruction, destruction. Everybody, is clear by now. It was used as a pretext. But why was Iraq attacked? Because Saddam Hussein declared that he is going to diss the dollar, petrodollar, what we call. It's a separate topic. How dollar continues to sustain itself as a international reserve currency and how it is being currently under challenge. That's a very different topic. But because Saddam Hussein was inclined to, prefer euro to dollar, was one of the primary reasons why Iraq was attacked. Rest of the, that it had got a stockpile of weapons of mass destruction and all were proven wrong. But they lied blatantly. That's why when I said the deep state, in addition to the US State Department and the Department of Defense and the arms industry, I said the intelligence agencies. Because they projected that, like Saddam Hussein was sitting on piles and piles of chemical weapons and all, but nothing was found. Then they said, no, he didn't possibly have them, but he had a program. Means they started talking about the intent. However, they flattened that country. And today, most part of North Iraq, the Kurdistan and North and Northwest, and east part of Syria is all lawless country. In fact, that ISIS is Islamic State of Iraq and Syria. And what are the arms these people are using? Arms which have been surreptitiously funneled by CIA into these groups. They wage wars to keep regimes which are not aligned to their way of functioning busy and possibly try and overthrow them. Since the Second World War, US has a record of triggering at least over 100 regime changes all over the world. 1954 Iraq, Chile, you can name any country, Mexico. So they have been doing the regime changes under various pretexts. Why it happened in Iran in 1954? Because the democratically elected prime minister said that we will nationalize the oil industry. So the British Petroleum BP, which was controlling the oil market, sat down with the United States and they overthrew the government. Today's wars, I will come to more specifically Ukraine. Ukraine war didn't start in 2022. It started way back in 2008. In 2008, in the NATO conclave in Budapest in Hungary, they passed a resolution saying that Ukraine and Georgia will be admitted into NATO. Now, as I said, little while ago, that NATO was a formulation to counter Warsaw Pact. In fact, Warsaw Pact was formulated in 1954, 5 years after NATO was formed in 1949. In fact, those days, the Soviet leader, Nikita Khrushchev had actually said that we are a European country, we want to join NATO, if it is about European security. But obviously, it was a different, they said European security. By that they meant actually anti-Russian. That is how the Warsaw Pact came into being. But after Warsaw Pact was dissolved in 1991, NATO should have also dissolved itself. But NATO kept expanding. And you can imagine, America has crossed the Atlantic, crossed the West Europe, crossed East Europe, and is sitting on the boundaries of Russia and accusing Russia of being a warmonger. So you take your weapons and missiles and air defense systems and everything right onto the border of Russia, pile them up along Russia, and then say that he is the warmonger. And why we get that kind of impression is because the media is controlled by the corporate. And most of our perception are shaped by whatever we read from the newspapers or see on the TV or the discussions, panel discussions, whatever material comes out. How many of us actually watch Russian TV, for example? What was happening in Donbas region of Ukraine, say from 2014 to 2022? So, first thing they say,
कार साउंड आसला हेलो उठे अनम्यूट कर दियंतु
so first they say that they will admit two border countries, Georgia and Ukraine, into NATO. That the current director of CIA, William Burns, that time in 2008 was the American ambassador in Moscow. There is a cable which he had initiated, it is there in public domain, in which he clearly says that Ukraine and Georgia joining NATO is a red line. Russia is never going to accept it. Don't do it. Today, the same set of people, whether it's Victoria Nuland or William Burns, the neocons, so to say, and it doesn't matter. I mean, till President Donald Trump came in 2016, from 1991 to 2016, they had a free run, whether it was a democratic setup or whether it was a Republican setup, administration. That is the surprising part which comes out more clearly now. Why I'm saying this is that George Bush left office in 2008 and Barack Obama came in from Republican to a Democrat. But the defense secretary continued to be Robert Gates from 2006 to 2010. This is a very unique situation, which means the wars had to be kept going on. A democratic president should not stop wars. It is going to make millions and billions of losses to all these companies who have got floating armories all over the world, loaded in containers. And there must be war, otherwise they go out of business. These are the people, the military-industrial complex, the oil and pharma lobbies, who fund the elections of these congressmen and the senators and the presidential campaign. We tend to underestimate. We think that is democracy at work. That's long forgotten. Even otherwise, Bernie Sanders would have been the candidate in 2016 against Donald Trump. But Bernie Sanders was sidelined and he was forced to endorse Hillary Clinton because she is part of this, deep state. They'll keep the wars going.
There is a UN organization and no control of UN.
The UN actually, till 1991, if you see all those UN peacekeeping operations which went in, stabilized many countries in Africa and in the Middle East. It was operational because you had a balance of power. The Soviets versus the Americans dominated the West and the Soviets. So you had two ideologically opposing powers, but there was a balance. But after 1991, since US became a hegemon, they felt that they could carry on with anything. There is no need to, they have total disdain for the rest of the world. That's the fact. I have been trained in the United States for 6 months in 1997 and again in 2014 in the National Defense University. I have actually been in United States in February of 2014 when this whole thing was cooking in Ukraine. And I have met General Michael Hayden, who used to be the director of Central Intelligence Agency in 2006 to 8, when the first original resolution for, in Budapest for Georgia and Ukraine to join NATO was passed. He was in Washington because something was cooking in Ukraine. I left US, flew out on 21st of February, and I think on 22nd of February, Viktor Yanukovych's regime was toppled. Now, between 2014 and 2022, the neo-Nazi militias rampaged Donbas area. Ukraine has 30% Russian and 70% Ukrainian speaking population. They banned Russian language. They banned the Orthodox Church. They raided villages. They bombed villages. And in 2022, when the war actually, started, there was aerial bombing of Donbas by Ukrainian forces. Otherwise, if you see Russia was, Putin has been in power since 2000, 24 years now. Russia was part of G8. If it was part of G8, if it is endorsed the US war on Afghanistan in 2001, how can you accuse Russia of being a warmonger or having ambitions to gobble up countries? That is one point. It was expelled from G8 in 2014.
We will come one by one next. Again, sir, we will come. Let us have an opinion of Mr. Vivek Pattanayak.
Yeah.
Sir, we want to know from you how the First World War and Second World War was occurred, and we are suspecting that the Third World War may be happened. So, on that point of view, I may sir request करिबा विवेक पटनायक को प्रथम विश्व युद्ध, द्वितीय विश्व युद्ध एवं पॉसिबिलिटी ऑफ थर्ड वर्ल्ड वार ए संपर्क रे हमर जो मन रे संदेह अछि ताको अपन कहिबे.
Your microphone, sir. Your microphone is off.
Hello.
सुबिला.
No, it's off.
Sir, it's off.
Okay.
Yeah.
बहुत धन्यवाद. ମୁଁ ଶୁଣିଲି ଅତନୁ ବାବୁ କହିଲେ एकदम ठीक कथा କହିଛନ୍ତି. Barada Babu has asked me to start from the First World War right up to this. I do not wish to spend time on the history of First World War and Second World War because that will take long time and we have short of time. But nevertheless, I will say a few things. First is, if you see how human civilization has grown, there has been always conflict between tribe and tribe, beginning with family and family, tribe and tribe, then among race and race, religious group and religious groups, right up to the present century. The human nature is such. Of course, this is a very, very philosophical and fundamental, you may say. And you read the book of Noel Harari, Homo sapiens, बेसी पेज नुहे 300-400 पेज भितर ये तो सब भला भार बुझाइछन् से कथा. Anyway, going back to the present times, there have been no stoppage of war even after 1945. Look at, first was the Korean War. It lasted for 3 years. And how many soldiers died on either side? And the United States was a leading member of the alliance to fight against North Korea and China. And ultimately, the United States could not succeed, withdrew. Then came the Indo-China War. It was a war against the colonial power, France. And if you recollect how France was defeated in Indo-China War, in the Dien Bien Phu, I think those who are of my age group must be remembering. Atanu Pattanayak was not born when Dien Bien Phu took place. I remember distinctly. The famous General Giap, he crushed the French people. Now from Indo-China War, the war didn't stop there. Vietnam War. Americans fought the war almost for 10 years or more, you can say. And Americans lost more soldiers in Vietnam War than they had lost in the Second World War. Can you imagine? As if that was not enough. Internal war, Congo. Again, I will request Sri Sudhakar Patri and also our other friends of my age group or even younger, they will recollect Congo War. And one side, the Soviet was there. Other side, the Americans were supporting in Patrice Lumumba, who was the first prime minister of independent Congo, was actually murdered at the instructions of the CIA, and it is said Eisenhower is behind it. Can you imagine? Well, it is released in one of the documents. Okay. As if that was not enough and over. Well, let's not forget Indo-Pak War, 1948, during the partition. In 65, and we recollect in 65 how the Americans were supporting Pakistan in the war, Patton tanks, Sabre jets. Of course, they were all India. We saw the graveyard of Patton tanks, Kemkaran sector. I'm sure Major General Atanu Pattanayak must have read the history. He was also too young. He was probably in Sainik school at that time. And then the 71 war, Bangladesh war, 62 war against China, we faced. I'm just recounting how the wars haven't stopped. And then Soviet intervention in Afghanistan. And the war continued for many years. And ultimately, Soviet Union had to withdraw under very difficult circumstances. And one of the principal reasons as to why Soviet Union broke up is because the war had completely destroyed its economy. They couldn't hold the country together, apart from the internal problem they had. Ukraine was a part of Soviet Union. Before that, Latvia, Estonia, and Lithuania, they also wanted to be independent. And Gorbachev didn't want it, but he had to. Gorbachev was a peacemaker. He was certainly more, he could, and he had to kill people there also. Now, then you come, I'm going historically. Iran-Iraq war. And who was supporting Saddam Hussein? America was supporting Saddam Hussein. You will see Rumsfeld, the defense secretary, and Saddam Hussein embracing each other. Defense Secretary of the United States and Saddam Hussein embracing each other. And I remember that very well because I was in the Ministry of Civil Aviation when one of the wet-leased aircraft of Air India was actually asked to land in Iraq. But that wet-leased aircraft belonged to Evergreen. I'm sure Atanu will understand the name of Evergreen. Evergreen was an airline floated by Americans, which was actually helping Contras in Nicaragua. And the Evergreen was being used to supply arms to Iran. Can you imagine? The fight between Iraq and Iran, Rumsfeld embracing Saddam Hussein, at the same time Saddam Hussein fighting against Iran, and the Evergreen was being used. And because Evergreen aircraft was wet leased by India, Air India, Saddam Hussein didn't understand. He forced that aircraft to land. Fortunately, because relationship between India and Iraq was good, we could get that aircraft released. I was a part of that period. I was in civil aviation. I won't go into details of it now at this time.
So who is the world leader now? Sir, कटिगला
Unless you understand history of the last several years. In other words, half a century of 1960, centuries since the end of the Second World War. How many wars have been fought? Kuwait was occupied by Saddam Hussein. And you know why? It is not told, because Saddam Hussein asked American ambassador, a lady in Baghdad. He said, Kuwait is originally a part of Iraq, and it is can we occupy? He said, we don't mind. So he went in. Once he went in, then he was an opportunity for Americans to intervene. You know what happened to the second war against Iraq. On what grounds? That Saddam Hussein possessed weapons of mass destruction, meaning nuclear weapons. And International Atomic Energy Agency inspectors went. I was that time in the UN system, very much. They went and they said, no, we don't find anywhere. No, he has got them in the presidential palace. Gave all kinds of cock and bull story. They invaded, and Tony Blair, our Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, supported them. By the way, the countries who abstained from the war were France and Canada. They said, no, we don't support this war. Then ultimately, after the war was over, they couldn't find in weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. Look at how many people died. And forget about other civil wars. Civil wars have been going on all over. In El Salvador, in Nicaragua, in Peru.
Excuse me, sir.
And who is supplying the weapons? Who is supplying the weapons?
Excuse me, sir. Can I ask something?
Yeah. I will finish this. Yes, you will ask one question. I know. What is the role of United Nations? Yes.
Yes, sir. Yes,
That's
of course, sir.
very relevant question.
Yes, sir.
After the First World War, it is the President of the United States, Woodrow Wilson, a far-sighted president. He thought, after several wars in the 19th century and beginning of the 20th century, time has come to have a peacemaking body which can intervene, can stop wars. The League of Nations was established. And the League of Nations was established. Even India India was not an independent country, but it became a member of the League of Nations, apart from other things. It is United States who couldn't join. You know why? The Senate didn't approve the treaty. And poor Woodrow Wilson suffered such a disappointment. You can't imagine. And actually, the League of Nations, because of the absence of the United States, it became dysfunctional. And Japan in Asia, Italy in Europe, and Germany in Europe, they started wars. And that led to the First War, the Second War. Well, you know rest of it. After that, it is Roosevelt, another American, who is a far-sighted person. He actually brought the famous United Nations. But look at that point of time, there was a belief that, you think of 1945, when United Nations came in. At that time, the world was full of colonies and empires. United Kingdom, France, United States, and Soviet Union. And China was not a powerful country at that time. It was a weak country, beset by internal troubles, Mao Zedong and Chiang Kai-shek. During that time, what happened? They set a Security Council and giving veto power to these 5 members. And already the Cold War had begun. So therefore, in every war, there could be no intervention by the United Nations. Otherwise, Mr. Major General Pattanayak has worked in the United Nations Peacekeeping Force. He is fully aware what is the expenditure that is made on United Nations Peacekeeping Force. But they can be deployed where? They can be deployed only when there is a consensus. In fact, the first United Nations United Nations intervention took place in Korean War, because veto was not used by Soviet Union for historical reasons. I don't want to do it. But the rest of it, now peacekeeping force is a very good idea. Even they could control the situation in Rwanda. I was in the United Nations system when the Rwanda Hutus and Tutsis, they killed each other. I mean, so many. I knew so many Tutsis myself. Some of them had worked under me. And then United Nations Peacekeeping Force was led by a Canadian Brigadier General. He appealed to the United States, authorized me to intervene. But the United States refused to supply weapons or anything to intervene. So many people died. So you see, historically, you'll see United Nations has become defunct because of this veto power of these big powers. Now you tell me, what is the reason as to why France was taken in? France was not a victorious power in the Second World War. It was under occupation of Germany all the time. But because Churchill wanted France to be a member, so France became a member. Okay. China, Kuomintang. Now, China, unfortunately for Kuomintang, they lost. Chiang Kai-shek escaped, went to Taiwan. And then for a long period, communist China was not taken into United Nations. But because of fight between Soviet Union and United States, and Nixon wanted to keep China in their side, that is why China was inducted, and China is now enjoying the veto power. Well, India has no status in Security Council. Then Germany and Japan, well, they were vanquished powers in 1945, but they are economically so powerful. How can you stop them to be part of the Security Council permanent membership? Brazil and South Africa. Brazil is BRICS countries. They should be part of the Security Council. But you can't reform Security Council as long as China has veto power. Because China will never allow India to be a member of the Security Council. So which means, unless there's a war, I mean, I have always said so, unless there's a global war in which India comes on the side of victorious alliance, then that sort of thinking one cannot have. So United Nations at the present moment has ceased to be relevant to stop war. Minor skirmishes here and there. You see, for Lebanon, where Mr. Atanu Pattanayak was posted, he knows Lebanon inside out, on the back of his palm, he knows. He was in the peacekeeping force. Now tell me, in Lebanon, the peacekeeping force of the United Nations was attacked by the Israeli forces. Look at it. Now what is happening? Yes, the Hamas was was shocking. Hamas went to all them. They are not good people. But the response of Israel, look at how many people have been killed. Palestinians. Who are they? Children, women, elderly people, sick. To be honest, if you open TV, my eyes, I can't keep the eyes open, seeing the destruction. Yes, Atanu Pattanayak, right, when you talk to media, to be honest, media is not free. If you want to see what is happening in Ukraine war, you should see Russian TV. You see, I watched that all. Then if you want to know what is happening in Middle East, go to Al Jazeera. Unfortunately, that is unfortunate, very unfortunate, that we always try to see a particular community in bad light. So as a result, we even don't want to watch Al Jazeera. It is based in Qatar. Many of us try to avoid, but to be honest, Al Jazeera gives you what you call fresh air. Gote Odiyare prabad achi kohibi nahi, kahile e ghare rohibi nahi. Eta bada dukha laguchi, kintu eta nirata satya. Amara internal tension the Bharat Barsha achi ye कहबो nahi boli कहले Naxalite problem chalichi. Manipur ଗଣ୍ଡଗୋଳ ଚାଲିଛି ମାଓସ୍ ଆମର ତ ସେ ପାଖରେ ଆରମ୍ଭ ହେଇଥିଲା ନେପାଳରେ ତାପରେ ଶ୍ରୀଲଙ୍କାରେ ଥିଲା ତାମିଲ ପ୍ରୋବ୍ଲେମ ଆଉ ବର୍ମା କଥା ଛାଡ଼ନ୍ତୁ ଇଣ୍ଟରନାଲ ପ୍ରୋବ୍ଲେମ ଚାରିଆଡ଼େ ମାନେ ଏଇ ସମୟରେ କିଏ କହିଲେ ଯେ ଲିଡର୍ସ କାହାନ୍ତି where are the leaders? You have leadership of the caliber of Mahatma Gandhi in the world today. A friend of mine who was working with the Soviet Union, who is a very good friend of mine, he worked in ICA also. That's how I came to know him. 2 years ago, I had been to, 1 year ago, when I was in Canada, I invited him because he was a good friend and very well known in Montreal, because in the cold minus 40 degrees centigrade, he could walk without a shirt. So I called him. I said, how are you? How are you keeping? Then he said, well, I'm okay, but I have some problem. But he said, I said, what do you think of? He said, today world is gone. We need more Mahatma Gandhis. He said, more Mahatma Gandhis. And then Nelson Mandela. Very Nelson Mandela. Nelson Mandela was responsible, apart from apartheid being wiped out of South Africa, responsible for stopping a war in Libya. His first attempt was invade. He ensured that 2 terrorists who were responsible for attack on Pan Am aircraft, which killed so many people, were released, were taken from the custody of Libya to be tried in Netherlands. He was responsible to stop the war there.
Sir, you suggest
Mandela wanted to stop the war in Iraq and versus with the coalition when Saddam Hussein was ousted. And he said, I don't talk to anybody. I want to talk to Bush the senior. But Bush the junior was interested in the war. So this is the misfortune. I'm very disappointed with the world situation today. The world doesn't have to stop war. Yes.
Sir, you please suggest how the war can be stopped.
Who will say how the war can be stopped?
Yes, sir.
Yes. If the members of civil society, members of media, members of academia, they take steps, not politicians, I'm sorry to say. Unfortunately, politicians are interested to remain in power. Politicians are, as he said, deep state. They're connected with the deep state. Do you think can an American president win an election without funding, huge amount of funds. Who kills them? Our arm industry, a deep state, arm industry. So it is, who could stop the Vietnam War? When the students of America went against the war. Civil society was not the word expression, civil societies were in the last 10, 20 years. Vietnam War. Students, they agitated. You know, Bertrand Russell was so horrified by the war. He established a war tribunal. Of course, he had no authority to take action. As you know, war tribunals have been established only by the victors. Execute the generals and Tozo and others. We did it. Come on, we means the allies did it.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Uh-huh.
Ke kon kouchonti?
Have no chance. The public opinion, the academia, they see a group like this, multiple numbers, and the war must stop.
Yeah.
Second, what is the biggest challenge the world is facing today? Is the environment. Do you think what happened in Baku can solve? Impossible. Only a month ago, I was asked to speak in Odisha Environmental Society. I said, there is no chance the world will be able to meet the target. Money is plenty available. Elon Musk is thinking of sending people to Mars. There are many wealthy people in the world. They can certainly pay. But fortune is that they're all under the political control. I'm sorry, these statements are not very popular. Yes, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. We will have
Good evening, sir. One question from me. Sir, this you speak about the deep states. Is there any possibility that somebody can control these deep states at coming futures, or it can be controlled? Because they are controlling the vote. So as long as the deep states something be countered, someone have the power to counter these deep states, then what we understood from your entire explanation, then this world will remain like what it is going on last decades, or it coming future also.
I mean, it is not that so simple. First, deep state is difficult to identify. Who constitutes a deep state? Very difficult to identify. Second, deep state is very well entrenched. Well entrenched. Just the way, can you remove an American president? Easily. American president, actually, whoever comes to power, he not only controls America, he controls practically the whole world. As Atanu said, the deployment of forces they have all across the world. So, deep state is very difficult to control. First, it's difficult to identify unless they abnegate their own power. They abnegate their own power. They have self-realization that what we are doing is so sinful that we must give it up. If they don't do it. Now tell me, this Ukraine war was totally avoidable. According to me, I have written articles on that also. Totally avoidable. What was Russia asking for? Putin? He was saying, don't allow Ukraine to join NATO and European Union. Now tell me, more than 2 years have passed, the war is going on. Has Ukraine joined NATO or European Union? No. Then why on earth did you fight the war? Do you mean to say Ukraine could have sustained itself without the support of Americans and others? What is this? Yes, Atanu Pattanayak referred to Russia itself wanted to be a part of NATO. When Putin came to power, he was a young fellow. But Americans, during the time of Clinton, no. So how can you take out that such kind of a establishment? So therefore, I mean, Atanu is much younger. He may be having hopes. But I don't know whether during my lifetime, I will see peace in the real sense. And
Sir, in present scenario is NATO is indicating that they are going to war directly. Is that a possibility that this war will escalate into a higher degree?
nothing can be ruled out, but it all depends upon whether they have political will to fight the war or not. You see, Europe went to war first time, a big war, because the political will was there to fight the war. The political will existed in Europe where Hitler was so powerful and Mussolini was so powerful. Europeans were more or less vanquished when Hitler actually was about to cross the English Channel. And Americans also were not joining the war, for your information, till 1941, until Pearl Harbor, when they were attacked by Japan. So, do you think Trump has, the will to fight a war? No.
So, sir, after change of the regime, that Biden administration, which is popularly known as that extension of Obama administration, and he was the culprit now who escalated the Russia-Ukraine war by permitting the Ukraine to use the American missiles. Now, Trump administration, if it comes when it assumes office in January, we expect that the war would be stopped.
No, Trump himself has said when he comes to power in 24 hours, he will stop all wars. Well,
is it possible, sir?
He said so.
No,
in the campaign, he's 24 hours to stop the war. But
in the sense,
Trump. Tell me.
Sir, you rated Mr. Gorbachev as you rated Gorbachev as a very gentleman, but we think that his introduction of glasnost perestroika, which he wanted to change the Soviet Union, and it disintegrated the total Soviet Union.
Yes.
And it is accused he acted as the CIA agent.
Many people believe that. By the way, I have been to Soviet Union when communists were in power.
Yes.
Yes. Before perestroika.
Yes.
After perestroika. I have been to Russia after Soviet Union broke up. I went to China during the height of, at the time, Deng Xiaoping was in power. I've seen the communist countries in and out. Well.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. We'll have a next.
Was responsible for it. Nobody can say. Many people think that Trump was KGB agent.
But sir, I completely agree with the Major Pattanayak. What he told that the American defense industry is so strong. They control the entire politics, global politics, and the entire regime also.
Yeah,
sir, I have a question.
Yeah.
Actually, I am J. Chaudhary. I have a question. My question is that the deep state that we are discussing, is it only America or is it in any other country? Or deep state is
Pardon? Say it again. Say it again. I couldn't get you.
We are discussing about a deep state.
Yes, yes.
But the deep state,
to define.
is it a phenomenon of America, particularly inclusive to America, or is there deep state in any other countries?
Well, I would say yes. In fact, the concept of deep state came from Ottoman Empire. The concept.
Yes.
When the exit of the Ottoman Empire took place in the First World War, it collapsed. Who brought republicanism to Turkey? It is Ataturk. Ataturk and military generals. It was from that time onwards, people believe in deep state. In fact, we move, get rid of this caliphate business, get rid of sultanate, and then we will establish republican. That is how it started. Every country has some form of deep state or other. Every country. But
particularly, I am telling in the context of India, present India, is there a deep state involved?
We see, generally, the deep state used when there is a military and bureaucracy and political deep state. There is no doubt in my mind. ISI, military, and bureaucracy is not that powerful, but they have deep state. Why can't? Why so many efforts have failed? I have dealt with Pakistani generals when they came to international organizations as secretaries to government. Many generals, I've talked to them.
Okay, sir, this is
deep state exists.
Dipan Pattanayak here. Sir, Dipan Pattanayak here. As you said that the war must be against the climate change and other common enemy. Sir, what is the cause of the currently 20 wars is going on in the world? What is the actually cause? The lack of leadership, as you have said, that the high moral ground like Mahatma Gandhi, the leader are not that quality, and or it's a weak democracy, or it's a UN and other are not relevant. After the Second World War, they may be relevant, but now as they are formed, they are not relevant. Is that the reason? And actually, as you say, India is always often staying neutral and is serving their own interest. And what do you have to say about the war is going on, cyber war, or it's a COVID war by China? It's also so we are, as we are Indian, are we okay with this kind of world that 20 wars is going on and we are serving our own interest? And we are in a peaceful situation.
Are we in a peaceful situation? Are we thinking of Manipur?
No.
Is Manipur is not in war?
Yes, internal
And why
war
Manipur is in war? Why Manipur is in war?
Yes.
How can we say that we Indians are in a peaceful state?
No. We are talking about world war and peace. We are not taking internal conflict is always going on there everywhere.
That is what peace. Where from the peace starts? That is the basic question.
Always there was these internal disputes are there. There was Khalistan movement. There was Kashmir issues. There was Assam problem earlier.
Why it was there? My question is why
Manipur is the only problem. Earlier there is a lot of problems India was facing.
Exactly.
There are so many regions. There are so many regions which cannot be predicted. It cannot be predicted. Let us listen. You see, this is time-bounded program. So let us listen Nandan Das.
Yes,
let
sir.
Let's listen and let us complete. Then we will go to the interaction. Mr. Nandan Das, apan janithibe, he is now working as a advisor of Prime Minister office. From morning to night, he is suggesting many problems, many solutions, and the Prime Minister office is all recommending all his views and suggestions to work out. Now I will request, he has written a lot of letters to UNA. ଆଉ ଆପଣଙ୍କର କଣ ବ୍ୟକ୍ତିଗତ ମତାମତ କଣ ଆ ଉପରେ ଆପଣ ସଂକ୍ଷିପ୍ତରେ କୁହନ୍ତୁ। ସାଉଣ୍ଡ
ଶୁଭିଲା?
ହଁ ଶୁଭିଲା। ହଁ କୁହନ୍ତୁ।
Right. When Trump was elected as Prime Minister of President of USA, on the same day, I wrote a letter to Honorable Prime Minister at night that because Trump and our Prime Minister have a very good relation, and during the Trump time there is no more of wars there, so they can cooperate and go for the peace of the world. And my suggestion, a lot of things are there. And why actually our topic is World War and peace. So we are discussing very expert opinion of World War, but the peace is also essentially, it is required. Peace is possible, always there is a solution. So first of all, war means war, World War means war in world, and peace for the human being, not for other animals. So now the human being and the world, they have got some relation. So actually, I suggested why this type of wars are appearing in our world. It is due to the due to the ego, self-interest, and expansionist mindset, and thirst of power have disregarded the fundamental truth of life. Our truth of life is that after separation of sun from earth, it was in burning status. It cooled down, and when it cooled down below 100 degree temperature, these life cycle started, and it is 450 crores of years earlier. But life cycle started then in air and water and land. Life cycle started. Animal like human look was appeared about more than 1 lakh years ago in Africa. Then, because due to the fertility of brain, they settled in Mesopotamia, and it is about 10,000 years ago. So within this 10,000 years, this civilization actually started, and within this time, there are no nomads, and they spread all over the world, and the language, the religions, and the borderlines of the countries, they actually created. They are all man-made. So basically, like other animal, all human beings are one category of the human family of the earth. In the last time, in G20, our Prime Minister has had 3 slogans. One is one earth, one family, and one future. This is the thing what I'm going to tell you. So actually, it is one family. The religions, whatever is religion, borderlines, all these are man-made. It is not made by the other elements, animals. So it should be. This should be awareness. This awareness should be created all over the world, that we are one family and human family and one community of the world. Or one has come and one has to go. So this is our identification. One has come and one has to go. You see. So this is the time where, because if you feel that our brain is more fertile, we should do something good for the country, good for the nation, good for the people. First World War, after Second World War, and repeated bombing in 6th of August and 9th of August 1945. There was actually the UNO was actually had a peace peace version, that is actually the verdict of that year was that all human beings of the world should live comfortably, and all countries should have the cordial relation and your friendly relation, and human rights should be maintained. These three things are mostly that was actually in the verdict of that 24th October 1945. However, you see now, it is nobody, as our Mr. Pattanayak has already told, actually, these are not actually obeyed by any country. But one thing, our our ambition that one family, one earth, one family, one future means it is all are the same. But you see now in the sake of religion, how day to day time, Bangladesh, Pakistan, you are seeing what type of things are going on. So what I actually suggested that because this awareness that all are one human family community of the earth, and all should live comfortably, as it was also decided during that on 24th October 1945. So all should live well. So now UNO was given that power with the veto power for the 5 countries, that UNO should take the lead of entire control the world. And actually, during last time, I wrote another letter. I wrote another letter to G20 because President was also our Prime Minister was President of G20. So I wrote that if the veto power is misused by the veto power authorities, then now the majority must be granted in the sense of that same veto power persons and the countries are also there in the G20. They can take the lead for getting the peace through G20 only. I wrote this, and recently I have written to the Prime Minister on the day on 6th of November 24, when actually leader our Trump was elected as President of America. Subsequently, on 23rd September, I wrote a letter to the United Nations Security Council through the Secretary General, His Excellency Secretary General, United Nations. They say I also indicated that we are actually one community, human community of the earth, and everybody's existence is for some particular time, and within that time, how best we can do. This should be create awareness among all the people of the country, of the world. So, therefore, I have given 10 points. I'm now concluding on the matter. So I'm reading out the hints of that. All human beings belong to the planet Earth of one global family. All should live well. Since life is finite, we must work together to promote peace and harmony across all nations. It is good for all. Religion is a personal social bond. One should be free to practice the faith without disturbing others. National leaders of all countries should serve as a representative of the United Nations. That means Earth is one unit. That Mars is one unit. So all planets are different units. So UN is the one unit different the Earth. So all the top leaders, the national leaders, should serve as a representative of United Nations, accountable for the welfare and the development of their countries. So they must be accountable for the welfare and development of the people and development of the country. Whatever small and big, the countries may be, the well-being of the people of the country would be look out of the head, the country heads. So it may be small and big. When you see there is a war between the Ukraine and the Russia. So you already, Mr. Pattanayak, they have already told that why this war is going on. But what is due to the ego-ness of Ukraine, and now entire Ukraine people are another entire things demand, but still this due to ego-ness, this is continuing. So these types of things should not be there. They should look after the welfare of the people and the country also. The United Nations should control global defense system to prevent conflicts. Nuclear energy should be used for the exploration of space, controlling the disaster management, and welfare of the humanity. The international discussion should be prioritize the majority opinion for the decision making, not that veto power. Education system worldwide should be adopted a value-based curriculum that promotes the idea of one human race. Human race means one, and translating all differences. Such value-based education curriculum based on all being that tuned to ideal human had been sent to about 170 countries through the book Global Peace by Dr. Nanda. During November 2017, I sent my book Global Peace to 170 countries, heads of 170 countries. During January 2018, I find the president of North Korea, he is telling, I want global peace, no more war. And enmity between the North Korea and South Korea, it was a long lingered enmity. They forgot it, and the North Korea president went to South Korea, and South Korea president come to North Korea. And on 21st June 2018, 2018, there is a meeting between President of North Korea and President of Donald Trump, South Korea and America, and that topic was on global peace. I am happy that all have received my books. So what I am going to tell, if we will create the awareness among all, then this thing can be solved. Terrorism in all forms must be condemned and punished severely. The 10th the following concept should be that if you pray God, the God is son, earth, and parents. Religion only humanity, and caste is only female and male. So these key points aim to unify humanity and promote global peace. These suggestions should be thoroughly reviewed and enhanced to pave way for the united peace world. Which grateful for your assistant with one word, your sincere Dr. Nanda, original thinker. So these are things already. These are now document now because already sent to them, and Prime Minister after receiving this on 16th of November, he has sent a reply to me that this is very welcoming, and he praised the matter, and I asked over the phone to rate their performance. So I have rated it is excellent.
Okay, ବର୍ତ୍ତମାନ ଯାହା conclusion hello, ବର୍ତ୍ତମାନ ଯାହା conclusion ଜଣା ପଡିଲା, this is a time bounded program. Conclusion ଜଣା ପଡିଲା, ବର୍ତ୍ତମାନ ବିଶ୍ୱରେ ବହୁତ ନେତା ଅଛନ୍ତି, ବହୁତ ସଂସ୍ଥା ଅଛି, କେହି କାର୍ଯ୍ୟକାରୀ କରୁନାହାନ୍ତି. ଆଜି thinkers club ଯୋଉ ସ୍ୱତନ୍ତ୍ର ଅଧିବେଶନ କରିଛି, can you take the leadership to stop all this and to establish peace?
So simply as members of the civil society, we can write letters to the various organizations, but so far the power is concerned, United Nations has become teethless because of the veto power vested with is only among few. Only if the India, Japan and Germany and South Africa.
କାହାକୁ ଚିଠି ଲେଖିବେ, କାହାକୁ ଚିଠି ଲେଖି ହବନି, ତା ଛଡା କଣ କରିହବ କୁହନ୍ତୁ? ଆଜି let us decide, everybody should interact.
Let us, we can
actually the public should be more aware of the machinations of the deep state.
There is no
we can sign a petition for global peace and send it to the
who are the people
General of
pursuing
United
war?
Nations.
They must be condemned.
Nobel peace kehi paibeni ho. Nobel peace kahinki daba? There is no peace.
Nobel peace was given to Obama. Nobel peace was given to Obama, and he bombs his countries after that.
That's it. Withdrawn. The prize should be withdrawn from the
Yunus was also given Nobel Prize, and he is burning the Bangladesh.
Yes.
So let us think deeply. We may also take another session. Let us think and suggest.
I appreciate too much to Major Pattanayak and Sir also. So they told a lot of things.
They will advise. They will advise. Let us have a second another session to think about that how this can be closed and the peace can be established.
This awareness, worldwide awareness is required on these things. So we can again. The proceedings of this meeting, I can set write directly Prime Minister and through my personal link, and also it can be sent to you also.
No. You sent to Trump, you said to Obama, you said all the world leaders.
When I am sending to means then Security Council means the 16 members are there. The Russia all are included there.
But Trump
one thing should be.
Trump is there. All five.
One thing should be added that one country, that is USA, no, he is the culprit. No, we are thinking that.
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
For money only he is doing, everything he is doing. So one thing should be added. We have to speak to every country that don't purchase a single gun also from the USA.
Right.
Not possible. Okay. Not possible. In geopolitics, if you think, take the geopolitics.
Listen, sir. One thing I'm telling you, as a marine engineer, I'm telling you, one chemical reactor, it is burning. What is fuel, air, then the combustible material. when we are removing one material, then the combustible material, otherwise the fuel, anything. If you are removing one thing, then the burning is already vanished, means it is not burning. So if 36 years before,
now it is a
America was
unipolar world. Sir, it is a unipolar world, and USA is just hegemony is there.
Okay, sir. You stand up. No, you stand up. You gain your knowledge. You gain your energy. Everything. Don't depend upon USA. Why you are depending upon USA?
There are $6 trillion market.
Slogan of our Prime Minister.
Sir, yesterday,
one earth, one family, one.
One thing, sir. Yesterday, I have listened one news that in USSR and India, now $86 billion business is there. China was doing $1.25 billion. Sorry, $125 billion. That's why USSR is depending upon China. Now India is doing $86 billion. So what is my motto? If the USSR is fearing to USA and the Ukraine is taking the things from the NATO and USA, for why? Because America is doing the advertisement. America is doing that this is my weapons and it is working very good. Sir, now sir was doing the UNO sir, no, that Pattanayak sir, he was telling us that we need the Mahatma Gandhi like that, Nelson Mandela like that. Okay, sir. Okay. Okay.
Third world war ହେଇଯିବ ଆପଣ ଯଦି ଏମିତି ଆମେ ଭାବିବା କେହି କିଛି କରିପାରିବାନି
ସାର୍ ମୁଁ ସେ କଥା କହୁନି ମୋ କହିବା କଥା ହେଲା ଯଦି ଆମେ ଗାନ୍ଧୀଙ୍କୁ ଖୋଜୁଛେ ତାହେଲେ ଆମେ ଆମର ଦବା ଓପିନିଅନ ଦବା ସାର୍ ନନ୍ଦନନ୍ଦନ ସାର୍ ଯାହା ଓପିନିଅନ ଦେଇଛନ୍ତି କିନ୍ତୁ ଇଏ ଗୋଟେ ଓପିନିଅନ ହବା କଥା ଯେ we are no more purchasing the defense things from the America. ये अपन माने मानी पारंदी न मानी पारंदी
we are exporting 120 countries. We are exporting arms to 120 countries. And that is the $6 trillion market.
आजिका कथा जानी चलती आजिका
India
कथा
is beyond non-violence. India is seeing their own interest.
आजिका कथा जानी चलती ट्रम्प आज डिक्लेयर करचंती जे हमर जो डॉलर गुडा को इंटरनेशनल चलथुला हमर इन द मिनिट बर्तन डिफरेंट कंट्री से जेजार करेंसी जो एक्सचेंज करचंती सेटा से मना कर देनी सेटा हाई टैक्स एटा आजिका मैटर एटा आजिका मैटरटा ट्रम्प रो भॉइस एटा नाइ ना सेमती कले हम बहुत टैक्स नबो एटा आजिका मैटर
BRICS currency had stopped. He has told against BRICS currency. Yes. So, sir, because only my address to Barada, sir, exactly, let us do as Thinkers Club members, civil society, let us write an online petition for world peace to the, which will outreach to the United Nations General Secretary and Prime Minister. We can give an online petition as members of it, because nothing we can do more than that.
Right. We will request Nandan Das, as out of his experience, as a meeting the reference we will request UNO and also the world leaders that they should be united. Instead of sitting silent, they should be united, take some decisions. That will be request from Thinkers Club today in reference to our meetings today. We will write
save
them.
mankind from the Holocaust.
To save the mankind and be interfered. You should not be silent.
Yes.
You should be
Reform into UN.
Yes.
Any number of petitions to the UN or UN Security Council is not going to work. That's the problem. That's the problem.
They will suggest. What should we do?
You're right. You tell what is the practical.
Kindly add one suggestion from Thinkers Club that let's this money should not waste on weapons, buying weapons or development of weapons. Rather, it should use for the environment. Let us use for the own earth, how to get the healthiness of the earth. So let us use this money instead of these weapons. We should use for the development of the peoples.
Development and poverty eradication from Africa and other.
If we can create the awareness that all are one human family of the earth, it will solve.
Social media for time, so it can be rapidly. It will go right to the bottom.
There is a need for the US hegemony to get over.
Let us write to all the world leaders, not single.
Yes,
That's
yes.
why I said,
I think BRICS as a combination is going to trigger the downfall of the petrodollar, and with that the hegemony of the military industrial complex.
Not
That may
possible.
see a better stability and peace in the world.
No, that is the fact, but it is not possible to pull down that $1 million,
No,
$1
it
trillion
is possible. It
industry.
will take time. It cannot happen overnight, but it will take time.
It can be
They are
initiated.
establishing a BRICS commodity exchange by 2025.
let us
That will overcome the Chicago and London Metal Exchange. So a lot of things are happening, and possibly in a year or two, things will change in a very drastic way. That's the hope.
କିଛି ନହେଲେ ନୋବେଲ ପ୍ରାଇଜ ଟା ଆମକୁ ଦେଇଦେବେ ଆଉ
Okay, sir. We can hope that, sir. We can hope, sir.
ଆମକୁ ଦେଇଦେବେ
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
ବଡ ବଡ ସଂସ୍ଥା ଥାଇକି ତ କିଛି नो ରେଜଲ୍ଟ ତେଣୁ ଆମେ ଯଦି ସମସ୍ତେ କାମ କରିବା ସମସ୍ତଙ୍କୁ ଚିଠି ଲେଖିବା ଆମେ କାହିଁକି ନୋବେଲ ପିସ୍ ନ ପାଇବା ଆଜି କେତେ ଜଣ ଅଛନ୍ତି ଅଲ୍ ଆର୍ ଡିଜର୍ଭିଂ ଟୁ ରିସିଭ୍ ଅଲ୍ ଆର୍ ଦି ମେମ୍ବର୍ସ ଅଫ୍ ନୋବେଲ ପିସ୍ ପ୍ରାଇଜ ଲେଟ୍ ଅସ୍ ଡିକ୍ଲେୟାର
ସେୟାର କରିଦିଅନ୍ତୁ କେତେ ଅଛନ୍ତି ତାକୁ ସେୟାର କରିଦିଅନ୍ତୁ
Sir, ଆମେ share କରିବା ଆମକୁ କଣ ମିଳିବ ନ ମିଳିବ ସେଇଟା ଦେଖିବା. We are working for the peaceful world. Okay, sir.
Yes.
That is our motto.
ଏଇ ଯୋଉ
ଟିକେ ହସିବା ଦରକାର ବୁଝିଲେ.
I appreciate Barada sir. Just you put this very beautiful, fantastic topic that we have a concern for the world, not for only our mother state or our India. That is a big thing.
one of the important is to India ଭିତରେ କାହିଁ ଚାଲିଛି
Manipur is completely different. ସେଟା ଆଦୌ
Sir, another session I shall speak a lot of things about Manipur also.
ଦିଟା ଗୋଷ୍ଠୀ ଚାଲିଛି
ସେଟା ଅଲଗା ବହୁତ ଟାଇପ ଅଲଗା ଟାଇପ ସେ ଆଜିକାର କଥା ନୁହେଁ ସେ 30 years ଚାଲିଛି
That is a war play by China.
ସେ ଅଲଗା ଟାଇପ
ସେ ଅନୁଯାୟୀ ଆମେ ଡ୍ରାଫ୍ଟିଂ କରିବା ଦରକାର ପଡ଼ିଲେ ଆଉ ଗୋଟେ ଅଧିବେଶନ କରିବା ଆଉ will write most of the world leaders ଯୋଉମାନଙ୍କୁ ନନ୍ଦନ ଦାସ ଜାଣିଛନ୍ତି he knows their address and let us circulate all.
Okay, sir.
Instead of remaining silent, everybody should be come up with a decision.
There are so many organizations, world peace organizations, so many organizations ଅଛି ଯୋଉଠି ଆମେ ପଠେଇ ପାରିବା
Yes, sir.
Okay, sir. Fine, sir. Better.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Good night.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you. Namaskar.
Thank you, namaskar. Good night.